Yo, what's up guys, mine is Mr. Freeze2244 and welcome to another Returnal video. I recently did a boss guide for Frike, the very first boss. I do plan on doing the rest of the bosses in guides as well, but I want to get this video out there as well for all the new fans of Returnal and the people that are struggling with the game, and give you some handy advice here on 11 quick tips and tricks for all the things that you should need to know when it comes to doing well in Returnal. So these are the things that will help you along the way. And the first tip is going to be being able to dash off tentacles to reach high areas. So at the start of the game, you won't have the ability to reach high places yet. So from the very start, you want to take advantage of these tentacles that suck you up. And as you ascend, you can dash off at the right moment and get to these high platforms without any special suit upgrades to reach these high platform areas. So it's a very useful way of getting some integrity increases and all that kind of stuff. The second tip is breaking through red and gold barriers. So eventually, at the start in the first biome, you will get the ability to unlock a sword. And once you have this melee item, you'll be able to break through red and gold barriers. To get through the red barriers, all you have to do is just slash at the vines or the red grids. But for the gold barriers, you need a specific upgrade for it. So once you get to this particular upgrade room, these loot items can be random, however. But once you go over here, you're going to need to get a specific one called Blade Balancer, which will enable a more powerful melee attack. I recommend you getting this anyway because it's just so good. But once you get this upgrade for your artifact, you'll be able to reach these gold barriers and you'll be able to get through these zones. And it's highly worth it because you get a lot of free stuff as well. It's not just consumables like this, but you will often get artifacts as well. So I highly recommend getting that artifact just so it gives you the chance to unlock further artifacts down the road. The next one is going to be always buying the astronaut figure. So again, this is another artifact that you carry around with you. It doesn't really give you much of a description for the astronaut figurine, but it just says a personal item and it doesn't want to let you go. And it's for 250 oblites. And again, I think it's highly worth it purely because of what it actually does for you. So any item that says it doesn't want to let you go, I think there's a spaceship as well you can bring along with you. I highly recommend the execution bolts as well, by the way, just to throw that in there, because that's a very, very cool item. But going back to the astronaut figurine, what it actually does, it actually gives you a bonus life. So if you die at some point, specifically during a boss for however like this, then you will come back immediately at the exact same spot and it will give you a significant amount of health back as well. So it'll give you another chance before you get respawned straight from the beginning. The next tip is always prioritizing green pylons in areas like this. You've got surrounded by enemies and you'll see a big green pylon, and the enemies are going to have super health. They're always going to be charged up unless you destroy these green pylons, and once you do that they become weakened again. So I highly recommend taking out those green pylons, otherwise you're going to have a very, very tough time taking out all the enemies in the area. So make sure you prioritize those green pylons, otherwise you're not going to get anywhere with these creatures. They're going to be very, very tough to beat. The next tip is to be looking out for breakable walls. So at the very start of the game, you're going to be having a lot of walls like this. There's a couple around the area, but once you break down these walls that look like this, you'll be able to access this area for at least 2 items. So a lot of the time you'll get a parasite. Not always. It's going to be random what parasite you get, but most of the time you'll get a like a cube artifact that you put in a machine a little bit later on to give you a nice little artifact. Unfortunately for this time it was only consumable, but it's very worth getting those areas. Next thing is dashing through attacks. Not a lot of people know this, but you can actually dash through enemy attacks. You are invulnerable when you're dashing. So a lot of the time people will be dashing left or right to avoid enemy attacks, but that can put you in situations where you can get hit by a follow-up shot. So what I would recommend doing is just dashing through enemy attacks. This is just a sample here just because I couldn't get a proper decent recording of it, but you can dash through several red zones. Next is going to be shooting statues with the gold eyes. I wouldn't recommend just shooting every statue, it'll take you a long time. So go after the statues with the golden eyes and they'll just start leaking out some oblites for you. So it's free oblites basically, so I highly recommend to keep a knockout for those things and you'll be fine. Next is to swap your dash button for R1. This is more of a preference thing, but it will be a lot more easier for you if you get used to it. So if you just swap your dash button out from a circle to an R1, that means you can still aim and move and dash at the same time without compromising your aim at all. So it gives you the ability to, while you're moving, you can keep your aim going, you can keep shooting, and then you can dash in the same time. Whereas if you have it on circle, you will be dashing and it will basically ruin your aim. So you best to keep your aim and shooting at the same time. So if you can get used to the R1 as your dash, that's all the better. Next is using your pillars to your advantage. Not exactly the pillars, but using the environment to your advantage. And basically, in a lot of situations, you'll be overwhelmed with a lot of enemies, and you can use the environment to obviously block a lot of the projectiles. It can be a little bit common sense, but not just be blocking the projectiles. You can circle around them and just take advantage of the enemies that way. At the moment, I'm just going to try and show you examples here of enemies shooting their projectiles at me, and I'm using the pillar by circling around it to take advantage of that. Again, it's a super useful thing, especially late on in the game when there's going to be a lot of high-powered enemies. It's a very, very useful thing to take on board. Keeping your distance from enemies is also a really big, important thing. And again, this is another example of me dashing through attacks. Also, I wanted to highlight this melee upgrade that I got earlier, what I mentioned. It's the enhanced thing, which basically sends electrocution bolts to the nearest enemies. It's really, really good unlock. Next is shooting enemies that are locking onto you. You'll see a lot of these flying enemies around, and they will be locking onto you like this. And if you just shoot them once, it will break their lock-on, and they will restart the lock-on completely. So always prioritize the enemies that are locking onto you first to break their cooldown, basically. So that's a really good piece of advice there to basically stop you from getting attacked and getting overwhelmed. Next is resting at the ship to restore integrity. So you might have just about to fight a boss, and you have, you've lost some health, and you want to regenerate that. So what do you need to do? Go back to your ship, go back into Helios, and if you take a left when you're in the ship, head into your bunker, and you can rest in there on your bed, and you can actually restore all your, well, not all your health, but most of your health. And if it doesn't restore all of it, just go back into the ship and rest again, and you'll be able to restore all your health there. So during these dream sequences, you'll see a lot of flashbacks and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Gives you a little bit of insight, really. But yeah, a lot of people know that, but you can actually go back to the ship and just rest and basically get your integrity back that way. It's a really cool way to get free health back. So it's always ideal to do this before a boss fight or a big battle or something like that, if you're lost a significant amount of health. So once you exit the ship here, you will see that you have fully upgraded your health again. Next tip is basically about the leech rounds. A lot of people know this, but successful hits may repair your integrity. So when you are shooting your enemies with the Tachyomatic carbine rifle, you will have the chance of actually restoring some of your health. It's a really, really good item to have. So if you are going for a Tachyomatic carbine rifle, when you pick that up, prioritize the weapon that has the leech rounds, because it's a really, really good unlock to have, a good perk to have on your gun. And if you unlock it, it gives you even more integrity. And if you increase your suit repair ability through whether it comes to the artifacts or parasites, it can make that even better. So it's a really good unlock to have, and I just wanted to put that out there, how good that actual item is. Also, in the future, I'll be doing a gun guide to show you which is the best weapons to use, which is the best and the worst kind of parasites to use as well, all that kind of stuff. And of course, I'll be doing a bunch of boss guides as well. So hopefully you've learned something from this video as well. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, because I've got some more content coming through for Returnal. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and yeah, thank you very much for watching. And that's going to do it with this video. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this or anything that I've mentioned in this video, be sure to let me know in the comments, and I'll be doing my best to answer all the questions. And yeah, drop a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Hit the bell notification to be notified of all future videos and live streams. Consider supporting me on Patreon, or even becoming a member of the channel by clicking the join button below, or clicking the link in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for all my Patreons and all my members. I really appreciate you all. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.